What can I contribute to life that death won't rob? We don't often think about death very much, do we? Which is kind of strange because, the statistics haven't changed. 1 out of 1 people will die. As terrible as the COVID pandemic has been, it hasn't actually increased our probability of dying. That's always remained the same, 100%. And so given the fact that we're all going to die someday, somehow, why don't we ever evaluate our life in the light of it? Well, maybe it's because actually death is one of those things that we don't seem to have an answer for. For many of us, maybe we're not even sure whether there is something beyond death. And if there isn't anything beyond death, it kind of makes us ask questions about life, like, what's the point of everything I do and achieve? Does it really count for anything? Well, you might say, well, it does, because I'll have children and I'll pass stuff on to future generations. And that's wonderful if we have the opportunity. But let me ask you, can you remember the name of your great-grandparents or your great-great-grandparents? Within 2 or 3 generations, pretty much most of us are going to be forgotten. You might say, well, I'll contribute to this world and I'll try and make it a better place. And that's a worthy and admirable aim in life. But ultimately, if it's not just me that's going to die, but everyone and everything, if the universe itself is going to be destroyed one day, what's the point of all that I seek to achieve now? It won't really count for anything, will it? I mean, let's do a thought experiment for a while. Just imagine if you were to discover tomorrow that at the end of your time here at Queen's University, you're not going to receive a degree. In fact, you're not going to receive anything. You'll just be waved goodbye with nothing to show for your 3 or 4 years. Well, if you knew that, would you continue to go to your lectures? Would you continue to revise for exams? I guess you probably wouldn't. What's the point of doing all of that if at the end of the day there's nothing to show for it? And if at the end of life everything counts for nothing, what's the point of life now? And actually those who think about this deeply and consistently often find that it's utterly despairing. But what if this life is not all there is? What if there is something more than this life? Well, of course, that's what many religions teach. They speak of paradise or some other dimension that we might go to. And that might give us comfort in the face of death. But what difference does that make to our life now? For many religions, basically life becomes like an exam that we need to pass. The most important, the only thing in life, is to be morally good so that you can go to that better place. But actually Christianity says something radically different and completely unique. Christianity doesn't hold out the hope that one day we will go to heaven, but more than that, it says that one day heaven will come to earth. The Christian faith speaks about a whole new creation. It talks about how God will transform everything, and it's all based on the historical claim of Jesus' resurrection from the dead. And if that is true, it is wonderful, because it means that this world isn't heading for destruction, it's heading for transformation. And that means that if we live in this world now, we can know that what we do in this world matters. It really counts. Not just the stuff we do on Sundays if we go to church, but the stuff we do during our weeks, our studies, our jobs, our hobbies and our interests. Everything counts if this view of the world is correct. But here's a sobering thought as well. If everything matters at the end of the day, what about the stuff in my life that isn't so good? Yes, there are things that I might be proud of, things that I've done that have made the world a better place. But there are also things, if we're really honest, that we're ashamed of, things that have made the world a worse place. And what am I going to do if one day I'm going to stand before a God who is completely holy and right? How am I going to give account for that? And how could I ever hope to be part of a perfect world when I am far from perfect? Well, that is why at the heart of the Christian faith is not the message of moral improvement, but the message of forgiveness. The message that through Jesus' life, death and resurrection, we can be forgiven and made new, so that we can have the hope of being part of that new world one day. And then we can go out into life knowing that what we do in this world really does make a difference. We can be liberated and motivated to make this world a better place, because we know that ultimately one day God is going to transform this world into the most wonderful place. Knowing Jesus means that we can live life to the full, knowing that what we contribute to life really will last and it really does make a difference. Or maybe you've got questions about this. Maybe you want to think about this more. Why not join us for our live event this evening where we're going to be discussing this in more detail. And there'll also be the opportunity to ask questions as well. So we really hope that we can see you there.